Now that we understand what a management system is, why it's important, how to think about it, how to design it, we can talk about actually making changes to your management system. Now, I think the first thing you have to ask is what level are you doing that? Am I changing my own personal management system, my teams, the organizations? As I've said earlier, there's no discrete line between these layers of management systems. They're all a combination of mechanisms that draw or steal our attention and focus us where it focuses us, whether it's the right place or the wrong place. And so we have to define our scope. Are we trying to improve our management system, our teams, our organizations, our internal customers or suppliers? Know where you're trying to create leverage. Know where you're trying to create an impact. There's no one right answer, but there might be a right answer depending on your need. Now, I'm going to lay out a few different approaches, and there's no right or wrong. It's about understanding what you're trying to accomplish and matching the right approach for what you're trying to do. The first is not really available to most of us, but that is to build our management system deliberately. Now, we have to recognize that if we're in an organization operating, we have a management system. We can't just ignore what's there and build something new, because most likely they will be competing with each other. But if we're in a startup situation, building a new organization, we do have that opportunity. We can pay attention to it piece by piece. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be complicated. And again, it can begin with a startup of one. But when you're building from scratch, building a new organization, you can build your management systems from the ground up in a deliberate fashion. Also, in the same approach, new managers who are running new organizations have the same opportunity. Maybe a brand new team is put together. Maybe a team is put together from a bunch of people carved out from other teams. And so none of the existing management systems are really predominant within the team itself. And it's enough to just ignore them and start from scratch and build up your management system deliberately. So build deliberately is one approach. Another approach, one that's probably chosen more frequently than it should be, is to assess and transform. Now, the reason I say chosen more frequently than it should be is because this is not an easy task. Our management systems, as I said, are pervasive. There are all sorts of bits and pieces sort of cobbled together as things that, steal our attention or focus our attention. So it's a big task to do this, assess and transform our management systems. Now, I recommend doing this at the right time, and the two reasons. One is when we just know it's broken. When it's so broken that we don't really care how broken it is, we can't make it worse. Right? So if your management systems are broken enough, they take up way too much resources, and still don't focus us on the right things, it's a good time to assess and transform. Also, when there's a big strategic pivot, when we're changing the focus of the organization, the business model of the organization, we're moving from a vertical organization to a horizontal one, when something is significant enough where we know very soon all of our old management systems will be broken, it's a good time to assess and transform. Now, if you're looking for smaller interventions, these next two are perfectly appropriate. The next is find a problem, fix a problem. Essentially, when we notice, when we observe a condition where our management system failed us, maybe we didn't know about an abnormal condition soon enough, maybe a performance parameter was drifting out of control, maybe something wasn't getting the attention it needed and kept sliding down the priority list. When we find a problem like that, we can fix it through our management system. So understand when we're finding problems that might have its root in the management system, are we then solving that problem in part by modifying the management system that we have? Next is essentially when we have a priority shift, when something new is important, do we change our management system? We simply ask ourselves, hey, this is important. It could be temporarily important. It could be permanently important. It could be important for we don't know how long, but do we change our management system? Right? And this could include deprioritizing a whole lot of things, canceling a whole lot of meetings, not looking at some metrics, and measuring, meeting, and paying attention to new things. So when we have a new priority, short-term or long-term, do we then ask, how do we change our management system to give it the right attention? And then last is when we improve the work itself. When we improve a process, we can then ask, how must the management system change? For example, if we have a process that we really only could measure its outcome performance because underneath were no standards, well, now we've improved the process and all of a sudden it's structured and standardized. Maybe we don't need the outcome measure. Maybe we can simply jump in and measure or focus when the standard cannot be met. So anytime we make an improvement to the work, an improvement to the process, we can then ask ourselves, how can the management system change to accommodate this? So these are a bunch of different mechanisms. Again, you have to be asking yourself, what am I trying to change? My management system, my teams, the organizations. And as you do that, you pick the right approach for the right situation. Either way, the more we are aware of the management system around us, the more likely we are to choose a path of intervention when called for.